everyone, a very good morning to all of you. इस वीडियो में डिस्कस करेंगे पार्ट 3 चैप्टर सेकंड क्लास 12th की जो हिस्ट्री है थीम 3 इसको हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। अब हम देखेंगे कैसे जो सिपोज थे उनको रिप्रेस कैसे किया गया है, फिर जो पीजेंट थे जो रिवोल्ट करे थे। इट इज क्लियर फ्रॉम ऑल अकाउंट that we have of 1857 that British did not have easy time in putting down the rebellion. Then before sending out troops to reconquer the North India, British passed a series of laws उन्होंने पास की हैं and help them fuel in insurgency. जैसे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट अगर बात करें 1858 का, उसमें डायरेक्ट जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हम बोल सकते हैं वो क्राउन के अंडर में आ गया। बाई नंबर ऑफ एक्ट में मई और जून में 1857 नॉट ओनली वाज द होल ऑफ नॉर्थ इंडिया पुट अंडर मार्शियल लॉ बट military officer and even ordinary Britons were given the power to try and punish Indian जिस पे भी शक होता था उस पे पनिश कर सकते थे। इन अदर वर्ड्स ऑर्डिनरी प्रोसेस ऑफ लॉ एंड ट्रायल वर सस्पेंड कर दी गई थी एंड इट वाज पुट इनटू द रिबेलियन पुट आउट दैट रिबेलियन वुड हैव ओनली वन पनिशमेंट कि उनको सिर्फ डेथ ही देती। ये ब्रिटिशर्स का एटीट्यूड था। देन विलेजर्स एज ए रिबेल एन ऑफिसर रिपोर्टिंग फ्रॉम रूरल अवध, इन्होंने बताया है the Awadh people are gradually pressing down on the line of communication from the north and the Awadh people are villagers. These villagers are nearly intangible to European, melting away before them and collecting against. The civil authorities report these villagers to amount to a very large number of men with a number of guns. Then, armed with these newly enacted laws, the special law and reinforcement brought in the from Britain, the British began the task of suppressing the revolt कि कैसे इसको दबाया जाए। Like the rebel recognize the symbolic value of Delhi, तो इन्होंने दिल्ली को वापस रिकैप्चर कर लिया था। The British thus mounted the two-pronged attack, one force from Calcutta into North India and एक आपका पंजाब की साइड से, which largely peaceful and reconquer the Delhi. And British attempt to recover Delhi began in earnest in early June 1857 में वापस इसको ले लिया था। But it was only September that was city was finally captured, लेकिन फाइनली कैप्चर सितंबर 1857 में। फिर उन्होंने रंगून से जो फौज बुलाई थी ऐसे इन्होंने दिल्ली को हो गया था। इधर से भी नहीं ये आपकी मॉस्क है, दिल्ली रीज फोटोग्राफ बताई गई थी मॉस्क इंपॉर्टेंट। The fighting and losses on both sides were heavy. One reason for this was the fact that rebels from all over North India had come to Delhi and defend the capital. In fact, in the Gangetic Plain, the progress of British conquest was slow. The forces had to reconquer the area village by village, and the countryside and the people around entirely hostile. As soon as they began their counter-insurgency operations, the British realized that they were not dealing with a mere mutiny, but an uprising that had huge power and popular and support. In our example, a British official called for faith. इनका नाम था estimate that 3/4 of the adult male population was rebellion, मतलब 75% जो young people है वो rebellion में लगे हुए हैं। The area brought under the control only in March 1858 after the protracted fightings. The British used military power on gigantic scale. But this was not only the instrument they used. In large part of the present day Uttar Pradesh, जहाँ पे बड़े लैंडलॉर्ड थे and peasant had offered united resistance. And British tried to break up the unity by promising to give them back big landlord. कि आप हमारा साथ दीजिए, आपको इससे भी बड़ा हम जमींदार बना देंगे. And their state rebel landholders were dispossessed and loyal rewarded. Many landlords died fighting the British. They escaped into Nepal where they died in illness or starvation. ये आपका सिकंदराबाद लखनऊ फोटोग्राफी for solitary figure within the desolate place that was once the built by Nawab Wajid Ali Shah. You can see ऐसे लोगों को मार रखा है। Skeleton ground में cold war में। Then image of the revolt. How do we know about the revolt? मेरी revolt को कैसे पता चला है? About the activities of the revolt and the measures of repression. that we have discussing. As we have seen, we have very few records on the rebels point of view, and there are a few rebels proclamation and notification, and as also some letters that rebel leaders wrote, जो हम leaders ने लिखे थे, but historian till now have continued to discuss rebel actions primarily through the account जो कि ब्रिटिशर्स ने लिखा, तो ब्रिटिशर्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से तो हम इसको एनालाइज करें, which is very wrong. Official account, of course, about colonial administrator and military men left their version in letters and diary, autobiography and official histories में. We can also go the official mindset and changing British attitudes through the innumerable memos and notes, assessment of situation and reports that were published. And many of these have been collected in a set of volumes on mutiny records. These tells about the fears and anxieties of officials and the perception of the rebel. The stories of the revolt that were published in British newspaper and the magazines narrated in the gory details the violence of mutineers, and this story inflamed public feelings, provoked the demand of retribution and revenge. And one important record of the mutiny is the pictorial image produced by British and Indian paintings, pencil drawing, etching, posters, cartooning सब में जो बताया है उसके हिसाब से, and celebrating the saviors. British picture offer a variety of images that were meant to provoke a range of different emotions and reactions. Some of the commemorate of the British hero who saved the English and repressed the rebels, जिसमें Relief of Lucknow painted by Thomas John ने बनाई थी 1859. An example of this type when the rebel forces disease of Lucknow, Henry Lawrence जो कि कमिश्नर था लखनऊ का collected the Christian population and took refuge in heavily fortified residences. Lawrence was killed, but residency continued to be defended under the command of Colonel English. Then at 25 September, James Outram and Henry Havelock arrived, cut through the rebel forces and reinforced the British garrison. 20 days later, Colin Campbell, who was appointed new commander of British forces को इनको बनाया था, came up with his forces and rescued the British garrison. And in British accounts, the siege of the Lucknow became a story of survival, heroic resistance, ultimate triumph of British power बताया गया. Relief of Lucknow, painted by Thomas, ये सब उन्होंने बनाया. Then Barker's painting celebrate the moment of Campbell's entry. At the center of the canvas are British heroes. सेंटर में कैम्पबेल को दिखाया गया है. इसको मान देते हैं, ठीक है. Outram and have. Then gesture of the hands of these around lead to the spectre eyes toward the center. Hero stand on the ground that is well lit, with shadow in the foreground and damaged residency in the background. The dead and injured in the foreground and testimony are the suffering during the siege, while the triumphant figure of horses in the middle ground emphasize the fact that British power and control had been re-established. And to the British public, such paintings were reassuring. They created a sense that the time of troubles was past and rebellion was over and British were victorious. कि British अब जीत गए हैं, rebellion को हमने दबा दिया इस टाइप से. English woman and owner of the Britain. Newspaper reports have a power over public imaginations. They shape the feeling and attitude to events, inflamed particularly by the tales of violence against women and the children. There were public demand in Britain for a revenge and retribution की demand थी. The British government were asked to protect the honor of innocent women and ensure the safety of helpless children. Then artists expressed as well as shaped these sentiments through their visual representation उन्होंने दिखाई है of the trauma and suffering. In memory figure इसमें दिखाया गया है कि कैसे ये लोग ब्रिटिशर्स जो थी वुमेन्स वो यहाँ पे परेशान थी. In memory figure इसमें was painted by Joseph Noel Patton. After the meeting, you can see English women and children huddled in a circle, looking helpless and innocent, seemingly waiting for the inevitable dishonor. Violence, death. Memorial does not show gory violence. It only suggests stir up the spectator's imagination and seek to provoke anger and fury. It represents the revolt as a violent and brutish, evil They remain invisible in the picture. In the background, you can see the British rescue forces as a saviors. Just a minute. उसके बाद मिस व्हीलर डिफेंडिंग हरसेल्फ अगेंस्ट सिपोई इन कानपुर, कि यहाँ पे एक सिपोई पे गोली मार रही ब्रिटिश वुमेन को दिखाया गया है. इन अनदर सेट ऑफ स्केच एंड पेंटिंग वी सी वुमेन इन डिफरेंट लाइट, एंड यहाँ पे भी इनको मार रही. दे अपीयर हीरोइक, उनको दिखाया गया है डिपेंडिंग देमसेल्फ अगेंस्ट द अटैक ऑफ रिबेल्स. मिस व्हीलर इन फिगर यहाँ पे बताया गया इसको. सो ओके, ब्रिटिश रिप्रेजेंटेशन, द रिबेल्स are demonished. Here, four Bury males with sword and guns are shown attacking a woman. Woman struggle to save honor and her life. In fact, it represented as having a deeper religious connotation, and it is a battle to save the honor of Christianity. And the book lying on the floor is the Bible. जस्टिस इसमें 12 सितंबर 1857 का ये सब नॉट सो इम्पोर्टेंट, बस ब्रिटिशर्स को थोड़ा अच्छा दिखाया गया है इन्होंने. देन वैगन्स एंड द रिट्रीब्यूशन. As waves of anger and shock spread in Britain, demand for the retribution grew louder. Visual representation and news about the revolt created a milieu in which the violent repression and vengeance were seen as both necessary and just. And it was, if justice demand, that challenge to British honor and power be met ruthlessly. Threatened by the rebellion, the British felt that they had to demonstrate their invisibility. In what such image, we see the allegorical female figure of justice with the sword in the one hand and shield in the another. ये इसमें shield दिखाई. Then her posture is aggressive, her face express rage and desire of revenge. She is trampling sepoy under her feet, while a mass of Indian women with children cover with the fear. And there are innumerable other pictures and cartoons in the British press that sanction brutal repression and violent reprisal. And यहाँ पे दिखाया है captain at the bottom reads and British law begins on the Bengal tiger. Then the performance of terror. The urge of vengeance and retribution was expressed in the brutal way in which the rebels were executed. They were blown from the guns, on hanged from the gallows. Images of these execution were widely circulated through the popular journal. ये सारी पिक्चर इन्होंने दिखाई. सिर्फ आप देख सकते हैं एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ म्यूटिनियर इन पेशावर, इनको यहाँ पे बंदी बना लिया जाता. Then no time of clemency. यहाँ पे clemency of training दिखाया. At a time when the clamor for vengeance, pleas for moderation were ridiculed, and when Governor General Canning declared that gesture of leniency and show a mercy would help in winning back the loyalty of the sepoys, he was mocked in the British press. In one such cartoon published the pages of Punch, a British journal of comic satire, Canning is shown lambing for father figure. जो फादर फिगर दिखाएगा विद हिज प्रोटेक्टिव हैंड और ए हेड ऑफ सिपोय. ये यहाँ पे सिपोय बनाया इन्होंने. एंड डैगर इनटू द बोथ, नॉट सो इम्पोर्टेंट. इंडिया के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू इसमें कुछ नहीं है। नेशनलिस्ट इमेजरीज, इसमें फिल्म एंड पोस्टर हैव हेल्प रानी लक्ष्मीबाई पे फिल्म बनाई, झांसी की रानी। द नेशनल मूवमेंट इन 20th सेंचुरी ड्रू इट्स इंस्पिरेशन ऑफ 1857 से इन्होंने इंस्पिरेशन ली थी। ए होल वर्ल्ड ऑफ नेशनलिस्ट इमेजिनेशन वाज वोवन अराउंड द रिवोल्ट, इट वाज सेलिब्रेटेड द फर्स्ट वॉर ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस, इसको बताया था वीडी सावरकर ने, ये आपको याद रखना है। इन विच ऑल सेक्शन ऑफ द पीपल ऑफ इंडिया कम टुगेदर टू फाइट अगेंस्ट द इंपीरियल रूल के अगेंस्ट वो लड़ रहे थे। Art and literature, as much as writing of history, have helped in keeping alive the memory of 1857. The leaders of the revolt were presented as heroic figure, इनको बताया है, leading the country into battle, rousing the people to righteous imagination against the oppressive imperial rules. Heroic poems यहाँ पे लिखी गई हैं about the valor of the queen, who with a sword in one hand and reins of her horse. रानी लक्ष्मीबाई के बारे में आपको बताया गया है। And British soldier and valiantly fighting till her last, अंतिम सांस तक वो लड़ी थी। चिल्ड्रन इन मैनी पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया ग्रू ऑफ द लाइन्स, सुभद्रा कुमारी चौहान की जो लाइन है, खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वो तो झांसी वाली रानी, ये आपको याद रखना है। एंड इन पॉपुलर प्रिंट रानी लक्ष्मीबाई यूजुअली पोर्ट्रेट इन बैटल आर्मर विद ए स्वॉर्ड एंड हैंड इन द राइडिंग ए हॉर्स एंड ए सिंबल ऑफ determination of resist injustice and alien rule. Then image indicate how the painters who produced the perceived those events, जो उनको लगता था, and what they sought to convey. Through the painting and cartoon we know about the public that look at the paintings, appreciate and criticize the images, and bought copies and reproduction to put up in their homes. We can say यहाँ पे the image did not reflect the emotion and feeling at the times which they were produced. They also shaped the sensibilities fed by the images circulated in Britain. The public section, मतलब जो ब्रिटिश वाले हैं वो ऐसा दिखाएंगे कि ब्रिटिश को यहाँ पे मारा जा रहा है, most brutal form of repression. And on the other hand, nationalist imagery of the revolt help the shape of national imagination. कुछ टाइमलाइन है, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। 1801 में सब्सिडरी अलायंस वेलेस्ली ने इंट्रोड्यूस की थी अवध के अंदर। 1857 में 1857 तो रिवोल्ट था। 56 में नवाब नवाब वाजिद अली शाह इसको डिपोज कर दिया था और अवध को अनेक्स कर लिया था। कौन सी थी ये? डॉक्ट्राइन ऑफ लैप्स। 1856 में समरी रिवेन्यू सेटलमेंट इंट्रोड्यूस कर दी गई थी अवध में। 57 में 10 मई को म्यूटिनी स्टार्ट हो गई थी। 11-12 को ये दिल्ली चले गए थे। 20 से 27 सिपाही म्यूटिनी अलीगढ़, इटावा और मैनपुरी में। 30 मई को राइजिंग इन लखनऊ। एग्जैक्ट नहीं याद रखना कौन सी जगह कब हुआ था, बस उन्होंने एक ओवरव्यू रखो बस। मई में राइजिंग लखनऊ, मई जून में जनरल रिवोल्ट ऑफ द पीपल। 30 जून को बैटल ऑफ चिन्हट, ये याद रख सकते हो। 25 सितंबर ब्रिटिश फोर्सेज अंडर द हैवक एंड आउटरैम एंटर द रेजिडेंसी इन लखनऊ। जुलाई में शाहमल किल्ड इन द बैटल। 88 में रानी लक्ष्मीबाई किल्ड, इनको मार दिया गया था। देन ऐसे फाइनली 1858 में ऑल ओवर इंडिया पे दोबारा से उन्होंने अपना शासन बना लिया था। सो दैट्स इट इन दिस चैप्टर। एंड नेक्स्ट वीडियो में हम नेक्स्ट जो चैप्टर नंबर 3 में जो पोर्शन होगा उसको डिस्कस करेंगे। तो आप देख सकते हैं कोई भी इसमें एक क्वेश्चन अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हो अपने हिसाब से, जो आप अटेम्प्ट कर सकते हो। एटलीस्ट ट्राई एक चैप्टर में सिर्फ एक क्वेश्चन। यहाँ पे कितने क्वेश्चन है? 12 क्वेश्चन, तो 12 में से सिर्फ आपको एक लिखना है। सो जस्ट ट्राई टू राइट। आज के लिए बस इतना ही। थैंक यू, हैव अ नाइस डे।